All right, let's get right into it. We have all been there. You've got an assignment, a couple of pretty dense sources, and just a blindingly white, empty page staring back at you. You're supposed to write a review article, but where do you even begin? Don't worry. We are about to break down a super clear, step-by-step process to turn that blank page into a really brilliant piece of analysis. And yeah, this is the moment, right? It can feel totally overwhelming. It is so tempting to just, talk about the first source for a while, then switch gears and talk about the second one and just kind of hope for the best. But there is a much, much more powerful way to tackle this. And that's exactly what this is all about, giving you a solid framework for success. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to really understand the challenge itself. Then we'll cover how to find genuinely strong sources. After that, we get to the secret sauce, structuring your paper around ideas. From there, we'll get practical on how to create a conversation between those sources. And finally, how you can truly guide your reader. It's basically a 5-part journey from I'm so confused to I've totally got this. Okay, let's start with the big picture. This is not a book report competition. The real mission here is what we call synthesis. You're not just reporting on what source A says and then what source B says. No, your job is to be more like a master chef, taking ingredients from both to create an entirely new dish, a single, cohesive, and delicious new idea. Think of it this way. You're taking 2 separate threads of thought and you're weaving them together. And when you do that, you create a much stronger, more interesting piece of fabric. The final paper should feel like one seamless argument, not 2 different reports that you just staple together. Now, of course, before you can start weaving, you need really high-quality thread. You can't build a strong argument on a weak, shaky foundation. And what that means is that the very first practical step is making sure your sources are credible, they're relevant, and they're strong enough to actually support your analysis. Now this is a super helpful way to think about it. From most academic writing, you want to be living in that A tier. We're talking about peer-reviewed studies, the kind you find in university databases like JSTOR or through Google Scholar. Why? Because other experts have already checked their work. The other stuff can be useful, for sure, but you have to know its limitations. And the F tier? Well, that's the stuff you just run away from, fast. So how do you actually check your sources? Well, you've got to ask the right questions. You need to put on your detective hat. Who paid for this research? Is there a subtle or not so subtle bias here? Who is this author anyway? Are they a real expert? These questions are like your personal toolkit for making sure your foundation is rock solid. All right, you found 2 great sources. Now we get to the part that honestly changes everything. This is it, the big secret to a killer review article. It's not about how well you summarize your sources. It's about how you organize your own thinking using those sources as evidence. This slide just lays it out so perfectly. Let's say your topic is the impact of remote work. Source A talks about productivity, and source B is all about employee well-being. The wrong way is to write a paragraph summarizing the productivity stuff, then a paragraph summarizing the well-being stuff. But the right way? You organize your paper by ideas, like impact on company culture, and you pull evidence from both sources to explore that one single idea. See the difference? It's huge. And here's why that matters so much. Structuring by ideas proves you've gone beyond just understanding the material to actually analyzing it. You're not just telling your reader what 2 studies found anymore. You're building your own, more complex argument, giving them one single, cohesive analysis. So how do we actually do this? How do you put this idea-centric structure into practice? Well, here's a great way to think about it. See yourself as a moderator, like the host of a panel discussion. Your sources are your 2 expert guests, and your paper is the fascinating conversation that you are leading between them. This quote from our source material really is the key. You have to ask, where do these 2 texts agree? Where do they clash? Does one source expand on an idea that the other one just barely touches on? Your paper becomes the transcript of that conversation, and you are the guide pointing out all the most important moments. So being a great moderator really breaks down into these 5 clear steps. First, you've got to really deeply understand what each source is saying. Second, you have to identify that common ground, that theme they both talk about. We've already hit the most important part, step 3, planning around your own ideas. So now let's zoom in on steps 4 and 5, using evidence and revising for flow. These little phrases right here, they're your absolute secret weapon. There are the words you use as the moderator to connect your two speakers. Think of them as the linguistic glue that holds the whole conversation together. They show your reader exactly how source A's point relates to source B's point, sentence by sentence. And what do your speakers actually talk about? That's your evidence. So back to our remote work paper. You wouldn't just quote source A on productivity. Instead, you'd say something like, while source A points to a 10% rise in output, source B really complicates this picture by showing a parallel increase in employee burnout. And then, this is the magic part, you explain the connection yourself. That is your analysis. So, as we start to pull this all together, I want you to notice the transformation that's happened. You've totally leveled up. You are no longer just a summarizer, just reporting what other people have said. You have become a synthesizer, someone who creates new meaning and guides their reader to a much deeper level of understanding. And before you call it done, you have to run it through this final quality control checklist. Ask yourself, honestly, does every single paragraph feel like it's part of that conversation? Are my transitions actually making it flow smoothly? Is the focus clearly on my ideas? And does it sound like one essay, not two? If you can say yes to these, you've nailed it. Because ultimately, that's the whole point, isn't it? A great review article does more than just get you a good grade. It actually provides value. It leaves your reader with a richer, more nuanced understanding of the topic, specifically because you showed them how all these different perspectives work together. So now that blank page doesn't seem quite so intimidating, does it? It's an opportunity. You're not just a writer anymore. You're a moderator, a synthesizer, a guide. The only question left is the most exciting one of all. What incredible conversation will you choose to guide your reader through?